Breaking news, a judge has placed members of the administration in contempt until they stop some of these deportation flights. But what are the chances of compliance? On that note, imagine learning you sent an innocent man to prison, but also that you had the power to free that man simply by asking. And then imagine being the type of person who would refuse to do that. It's hard to fathom, but that refusal by Trump to bring Kilmar Abrego Garcia back is exactly that. And furthermore, it's deepening this country's constitutional crisis. Is it time for a youth movement in the Democratic Party? There's a movement afoot to replace longtime Dems in Congress with fresh blood. And we'll talk to Jake Rakove, one of the most exciting candidates making that case, who is actually running against his former boss. Welcome back to the podcast for the 54% of Americans who regularly vote for progress in every election and want to convince their friends and family members to join a majority. This is Majority 54. Ravi is back. Hello, Ravi.
What's happening? We are in the middle of a true constitutional crisis, Jason. This is the worst case scenario every step of the way here. It keeps getting worse. We had District Judge Boasberg, who just ruled that the Trump administration is in contempt because they ignored the prior ruling asking them not to send a few plane loads of migrants to El Salvador. That is just one of a few constitutional crises we have right now. He's ordered the administration to provide a remedy by next week or to appear under oath. So that'll be something we could watch for ahead of next week's episode. But more importantly, we had another spectacle in the Oval Office where the El Salvadorian president appeared alongside Trump and clarified his intent as it related to the Abrego Garcia situation. Let's go to this clip.
How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
So you can release him inside El Salvador?
Yeah, but I'm not releasing, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. We just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
They'd love to have a criminal, released into our
there's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
First of all, he's not a criminal. He's a union member from Maryland.
He has fewer criminal convictions than Donald Trump.
Yeah. This is. It's hard for me to talk about this one. It's got me so upset, and they clearly. They were like, well, we're in a pickle here because we don't want to abide by the U.S. Supreme Court's 9-0 order. But on the other hand, the politics of this case are very bad for us because, like, even Joe Rogan, as we've pointed out, is saying, what are they doing? How could they have deported this guy, right? And they deported and sent to prison an innocent man, and they're no longer denying that, right? Like, Trump will allude to the idea of criminals with regard to this, but they're no longer denying that. So what did they do? Clearly, they said to this guy before, the press gaggle, hey, it'd be really helpful to us if you would just say that you're not going to return him. And then we could just be like, hey, it's out of our hands, which is outrageous.
They're both sitting there and they're just straight up gaslighting the American public here. They're 100%. Just being like, hey, I can't force the United States to take him, as he's sitting next to Donald Trump, and Donald Trump's being like, I can't force him to release him. And I'm like, yeah, it's not even worth acknowledging.
You paid him $6 million to take him. You can probably be like, obviously you can. It's El Salvador and we're the United States of America. We can get it makes me so mad.
It's even worse. This is, Trump talking about expanding these prisons and starting to look at a whole different category of people to send abroad. Let's go to this clip.
He's made it a very safe place. People go and they feel very secure and safe. He's also built one, but other also prisons, very big ones. And we're using his system because we're getting rid of our criminals from out of the United States who were allowed to come in by Biden. We're getting them out. And the president is helping us with that, President Bukele. So I was very impressed with him, really very impressed. Great guy.
Could we use it for violent criminals, our own violent criminals?
I call them homegrown criminals.
Yes.
I mean, the
homegrowns.
The ones that grew up and
Yeah.
something went wrong and they hit people over the head with a baseball bat. We have, and push people into subways just before the train gets there, like you see happening sometimes. We are looking into it and we want to do it. I would love to do that.
Because you know what we don't have enough of in this country, Ravi? Prisons. And we just don't incarcerate enough of our people. So we need to outsource that, apparently.
Yeah. This is truly, truly dangerous times. And I think it's safe to say that we've long since crossed the threshold here. And, we were having these debates a couple months ago, maybe even a couple weeks ago, about like Ezra Klein, like, don't believe him. And I was just laughing to myself today as I was walking to the office, like, almost how incomprehensible that debate is in hindsight. It's like, what does it even mean for us to not believe him in this situation? It's like he's ignoring the courts. He's depriving people of their civil liberties, and he is extending out that repression now to say he's going to include American citizens there. And I think this is important because you have, this is they came for the blank situation, right? Like what we have here it's easy to go after Palestinian activists in universities or immigrants who are here that you can tar with the MS-13 name, even if they don't deserve it, right? And say, okay, this guy came to this country illegally. He may have been, married an American citizen and been an upstanding citizen since, but I can tar him in a certain way that the average swing voter or even MAGA supporter sitting at home, Rogan listener, is going to be like, well, that's not me, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not me. And I think what we need to remember is, number one, like, even if it's not you, we have a moral imperative to stand up for people. But even beyond that, that's always a harder case to make. Then, well, this could be you. This could be your friends. This could be your neighbors. And he's saying that. And he's talking about people who are pushing others in front of subway cars, which we shouldn't even be sending those people abroad, right? If we're going to adjudicate them, we should adjudicate them here and imprison them in the United States. But even beyond that, this is a guy who in the same week is saying that people like Krebs and all these people who just merely criticized him and whistleblow on him are criminals, right? So that's who he calls criminals. He says Tish James is a criminal because she had the gall to investigate him. So what Trump means when he says criminals is a pretty broad category. It basically means anybody who disagrees with him.
Yeah, no, I don't even know what to say about it. I mean, the most upsetting part to me is that it appears so far that they have managed to not do what the Supreme Court of the United States has unanimously instructed them to do. And once they do that and get away with it, I don't really understand what happens after that. I mean, I do, and I'm scared of it.
Yeah. Well, Stephen Miller has been gaslighting us straight up on this. This is him joking about the whole situation on Fox News.
So for two reasons, it's completely invalid. But let's just say we wanted to honor it. We're going to say, okay, fine.
Yeah.
We're going to honor your request not to live in El Salvador. That means he could be sent to Haiti. He could be sent to Yemen. He could be sent to Syria. I mean, those are all the options on the table under his plea. Bottom.
He's talking about
Jason.
He's talking about an innocent person.
Yeah.
A person who they don't even claim committed a crime. Like,
well, there was another moment in the Oval Office during that Bukele meeting where Stephen A. Smith chimed in and said, hey, like, because one of the many things that rational people are pointing out here is that the Trump administration themselves have admitted that this guy is innocent. And
right.
Stephen Miller, I was going to say Stephen A. Smith, God help me. Stephen Miller claims that it was some rogue employee of the Department of Justice. And actually, it's not even, first of all, rogue is just the term that they throw around for anybody who disagrees with them. But it was actually an ICE official, not even a Department of Justice official, who made this claim. They don't even care anymore about being consistent or factual.
What's really scary to me is that I don't think that Donald Trump cares about politics at all anymore. I think Donald Trump is a lame duck president. I mean, occasionally he's going to put up the third term stuff when there's some bad news story out there to distract us or whatever. But Donald Trump got what he wanted. He didn't go to prison, and he's getting to exact retribution on all sorts of people. And he's getting to do his, wreck the economy protectionism stunt that he has believed in since the 80s. He's getting to do all that. Donald Trump his incentives are no longer aligned with really any other American politicians or Americans for the most part, which is very scary. Because I guess if there's one silver lining, it's also very scary for any Republican members of Congress who want to maintain the majority in 26, because he doesn't give a damn about that, right? That the only thing that really incentivizes Donald Trump at this point is getting back at people and not being embarrassed, which is why he pulled back on some of the tariffs right before he was going to completely crash the U.S. economy into depression level, because the bond, people were starting to sell off the bond market. Other than that, I don't think he cares. I don't think there's any level of bad news or bad stories that's going to get him personally to pull back. And that concerns me an awful lot.
Well, one person who is fighting back here is Senator Van Hollen from Maryland. This is one of his constituents. He just touched down in El Salvador. Let's go to the clip.
I just landed at the airport in San Salvador a little while ago. I'm now en route into the city, looking forward to meeting with the team from the American Embassy. And I do want to thank our Foreign Service officers and the whole team at this embassy and embassies around the world for all the good work they do on behalf of our country. I'm proud to co-chair the bipartisan Foreign Service Caucus that stands up for the men and women who are serving our country overseas and at home in the State Department. After that, I hope to meet with some high-level government officials from El Salvador. As I've said before, the goal of my visit is to talk to people here about the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I told his wife and his family I would do everything possible to bring him home, and we're going to keep working at this until we're successful. I also hope to have the chance to meet with him, but we'll have a better idea if that works out a little later on.
Okay, two things to say about this. One, Senator Van Hollen needs to be lauded for this, because make no mistake, what he's doing is, I believe, actually dangerous, because I think he is putting himself in danger, because we have to remember, this is not just like, hey, he has a constituent who's being unfairly detained in another country, so he's going to go try and secure his release. That kind of thing happens. That's not what this is. He has a constituent who's being unlawfully detained in another country because our country sent him there, and our country refuses to get him back. And our country is specifically telling the president of that country not to send him back. There is a conspiracy going on, and it's not a particularly complicated one, to the point where I guarantee you that inside the White House, Stephen Miller and everybody else in there, they currently view Van Hollen as, I bet you they have used the word traitor. They've certainly used the word interloper or something like that. They view him as working against the United States, because they don't view people as working against them. They view them as working against the country when they disagree with them. And that means that Van Hollen has put himself in a place where there is a corrupt regime that jails people without due process. And it is not at all beyond the pale to imagine that he gets falsely accused of some sort of terrible crime, gets held in El Salvador. And what do we think President Trump would do? Do we think President Trump would demand that the president of El Salvador send back the Democratic U.S. Senator? No. Donald Trump believes that if you are not an American Republican who voted for him, then you are not a human being. And if that happened, he would be like, look, I think he committed that crime. There's really nothing we can do about it. So he is taking a risk. That's the very serious thing I will say about this. The funny thing I will say about this is that when I learned that Senator Van Hollen was going there yesterday, I actually first learned a report that was erroneous, that it was a different senator. And it happened to be a senator who had also invited me recently to go do a town hall with them in a district that I won't name, but I then texted that senator thinking it was them going, and sent them a bunch of stuff about hey, you need to take this seriously. This is dangerous, etc. And then that person was like, wow, you're really alarming me. I didn't think this district was that dangerous. And then I was like, wait, aren't you going to El Salvador? They're like, no, that's Van Hollen. So then I sent my warnings to Van Hollen, which he probably didn't need, but it was momentarily pretty funny. So
yeah, I was thinking of this. We are in crazy times where a senator can't say that they're safe in a Latin American country. And I would say almost any country at this point, like
Right.
for various reasons, we as Americans face hostility, either from our former allies who have reasons to be pissed at us, or our enemies who feel emboldened. Like, I did that reporting, and I'll talk about it in a second, in India last year. If I were doing that reporting now,
you could not go now.
I would not go.
Absolutely. They would
even
do
to
nothing
India.
to get you back.
Nothing.
And
Yeah.
Starting in 20, Diana's, as you well know, Diana came from Ukraine, and I took Russian in college, and I used to really want to go to, I mean, obviously can't go to Ukraine right now, really. But I long wanted to go to somewhere in Russia and like use the language and that kind of thing. And beginning in 2016, I was like, I can't go anywhere that's under Russian control, because I just assumed, like, being a high profile Democrat, if Putin decided, or Trump administration could even ask them, like, hey, detain this guy and we'll just go along with whatever BS charge you come up with.
Yeah, I was thinking about this, like, when we get this White House back, and it's going to be a fight to even keep free and fair elections over the next few cycles, we need to sanction the shit out of El Salvador. Like, we now know what it looks like to have 100 to 200% tariffs. Like, that should be the beginning here. And honestly, like, if we take power and they don't return this guy, we should fucking invade that country. Like, and I know that's like incendiary, but like, he's holding
here's
a
what we have to
lawful
remember.
American, on their soil, refusing them to bring it back after our courts have ordered him essentially to bring him back. Like, that's bullshit.
I agree, but here's what we have to remember is that this Bukele guy is just, look, when the United States of America says, do this for us and you will improve your relations with the United States of America, I'm not defending the guy. Most countries are going to do that. Most countries that are not our peer countries, that are not the UK, Australia, Canada, like, that are, major economic powers, they're like, it is a big deal to have, even under, this regime that we have in America, it is a big deal to have the American spotlight shining upon you. That is a warm place in the sun to be. And we have to keep that in mind when we get back into power. Now, maybe we should, be in favor of regime change and even help facilitate it. But we are going to still need relations with a lot of countries. And I just think we're going to have to keep in mind that they were put up to it by us.
Yeah.
Important to remember.
Yeah, he's a fascinating figure, this guy. And by the way, all the same people who were talking about how Zelensky, who's at war, was disrespectful for not wearing a suit and tie, had nothing to say about this guy who showed up looking like he was showing up to a South Beach crypto conference.
I was thinking Miami too, yeah.
Well, okay, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to do a couple of other updates on the immigration front. We're going to talk about the war on universities. We're going to talk about tariffs. We're going to talk about some interesting debates within the party. But before we get there, we were just talking about press freedom in India. I worked on this podcast called Killing Justice with Crooked Media last year. It was all about an alleged political murder in India and about freedom of the press. And a lot of the issues that we're facing here. We've been nominated, among other things, for Best Collaboration for the Webby Awards. And so we're going to put both in the description on YouTube, in our description on the podcast, but also Jeremy, our producer, is going to drop this into the chat right now for those who are following along on YouTube and following live. And it takes 30 seconds to vote. You can vote only for us if you want, and you could use your Gmail account or whatever. It does it automatically. We're in third place right now. There's only a couple percentage points that separate us from the others in this category and the People's Choice part of this award. So if everybody listening to this goes in and clicks this link, we will absolutely shoot to first. For those of you in the Midas Mighty watching us and on the chats, click on that link. Do me a favor while we're in this ad break, and you will just in the next couple of minutes, be responsible for shooting us to first if the Midas Mighty gets behind us. And remember, it's not just a vote for that show, it's a vote for freedom of the press and holding the powerful accountable. And so click on that, vote for us. It will mean a lot to me.
It's called Killing Justice, and it really is an outstanding podcast series.
So with that, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. 420 is around the corner, and there's no better time to elevate your wellness routine. Whether you want to relax, recharge, or refocus, VIA has the perfect lineup for you. And if you haven't tried them yet, you're seriously missing out. Whether you need to unwind, refocus, or boost your mood, VIA is here to enhance your everyday and night. Trusted by over 500,000 happy customers, VIA is changing the game in natural wellness, blending powerful, high-quality hemp-derived ingredients to deliver real effect-driven benefits. Whether you're looking to sleep better, have better libido, improve focus, recover, or simply relax, VIA has a tailored solution just for you. With products ranging from 0 to high cannabinoid levels, VIA lets you fully customize your experience to fit your needs. Whether you're looking to support your daily wellness routine, enhance focus or clarity, or unwind with deep relaxation, VIA has you covered. From their award-winning effect-forward gummies to calming drops, every VIA product is thoughtfully crafted, made with organic, lab-tested hemp sourced from trusted, independent, American-owned farms. And the best part, VIA legally ships across the U.S. discreet, direct to your door, no medical card required, and backed by a worry-free guarantee. Not sure where to start? Take VIA's Product Finder quiz to get personalized recommendations tailored to meet your needs. It can take you less than 60 seconds to complete. So if you're 21 plus, treat yourself to VIA's annual Spring 420 sale, Black Friday levels savings up to 35% statewide right now, or site-wide right now, up to 50% off packs and bundles, and get a free gift and more savings with your first order using our exclusive code MAJORITY at the link in our description. Plus, enjoy free shipping on orders over $100. If you're 21 plus, check out the link to VIA in our description and treat yourself to VIA's annual Spring 420 sale, Black Friday level savings, up to 35% site-wide right now, up to 50% off packs and bundles, and get a free gift and more savings with your first order using our exclusive code MAJORITY. Plus, enjoy free shipping on orders over $100. That's code MAJORITY at the link in our description. After you purchase, they ask you where you heard about us. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Enhance your everyday with VIA. All right, Jason. Well, we've got a couple of other things on the immigration front I just want to shoot through really fast. One is that a woman named Ksenia Petrova left Russia in protest of Putin and has been working at a Harvard lab. And she arrived back in the country from Paris and had some frog embryos that she forgot to claim, which apparently would normally just be like a slap on the wrist. But she's now been sent to a detention facility down the road from me here in Louisiana. So you had that going on. And then in even worse news, on Friday, an immigration judge in Louisiana ruled that the country could deport this gentleman, Khalil, who is a legal U.S. resident and recent Columbia University graduate, who's being removed on national security grounds.
And he has a green card.
It's crazy.
That guy. He has a green card. And for those who don't know, the other term for green card holder is permanent resident.
Yeah.
Permanent. And to get to that point, you're like just one step short of U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
And it's like a green, for those who don't know, green card holder is somebody who lives in the United States and can travel the world with their green card. And it essentially operates as if they're holding an American passport, going in and out of other countries, being able to return to the United States. And the Khalil thing, like, I don't care where you fall on the spectrum of, you know, where you are on Israel and Gaza and the Palestinian territories. And you know, obviously he has been a at times controversial figure. That's not how we do things in this country. We don't deport people and send them to prison in our country and then in other countries for their political views. And by the way, the Russian dissident who's here, like, that's just doing the bidding of Vladimir Putin. She's here on a valid visa and she's protesting Putin by being here. And they're like, well, we'll just ship her back.
I mean, it's unbelievable. You know what the terrible things that happen to people who protest Putin like that and seek
Oh, we know
asylum elsewhere?
Navalny and everybody else, and it's sick.
Awful. Well, let's move to tariffs. I know that you were recording last week as Trump throttled back. It's almost a daily ritual at this
Folded.
point. You know, we
Back
go back
down.
and forth on these tariffs. Jerome Powell actually just made some news in talking about the economic impact of these tariffs. Let's go to this clip.
The level of tariff increases announced so far is significantly larger than anticipated, and the same is likely to be true of the economic effects, which will include higher inflation and slower growth.
Translation, expect high interest rates moving forward. He thinks slower growth. He is one of a litany of people who think we're going to head towards a recession, which unfortunately, and Jason, if you remember, was my big prediction for the year. So
Yep.
Congratulations, us. Now, there's a lot that we could update on the tariffs, but I think the big picture is just that it's been on and off again, basically over the past few weeks. Every day, Trump is saying a different thing. And just one example of this is how he's talked about China. And there's these 100 to 150% tariffs on China. They've retaliated. They've also retaliated, saying they're not going to send rare earth metals to the United States, which is a big deal. They've been messing around in the bond market. We're heavily dependent on China, who holds a lot of U.S. treasuries. At the same time, the Trump administration had announced on Friday that they were going to exempt electronics. And so a lot of people thought, okay, like this great Apple stock shoots to the roof again, yada, yada, yada. Then Trump on Truth Social says that there weren't going to be any exceptions. And then Commerce Secretary Lutnick on Sunday gave an interview with ABC News in which he said that any electronics exemption is temporary. Mind you that in the best of scenario, there's still a 20% tariff on top of anything coming from China. And so this is the world that we live in right now, which is you just wake up every day and you're like, well, are there going to be tariffs? Are there not? And these are big, big policies that, like, you know, there are people who have to go to ports to get their goods. You might be a small, medium-sized business or a large business, and you got to write multi-million-dollar checks, if not tens of millions-dollar checks, in order to just get your goods from a port that you were not anticipating previously. And on any given day or week, you don't know, you can't plan your budget to say what the next week or month is going to look like. So this is the world that we live in. This is Trump's economy, and we're soon going to be in a Trump recession, if not a Trump depression, because this may already be in one.
This is going to penetrate, in my opinion, 2 months from now. This will affect the economy, and it will affect people's everyday lives because of the prices on things in such a way that I do believe it will make a difference politically. Now, I would rather we not have the economic disruption, but since we're going to have it, you know, we have to like watch pretty closely to figure out what actually seems to matter politically anymore, like what gets through. And it is, I don't think this is a particularly controversial take. If you run for president and win on the promise that you're going to reduce prices, and then prices go entirely the other direction, what I believe happens is that suddenly people come to understand what has been a previously obscure area of policy that the average American didn't know a lot about, which is tariffs and trade. And they start to get kind of pissed at you. And I think that's where we're going to be as prices go up. And I also think it's important to remember that with regard to China, this is going to really massively affect the agricultural sector in this country, because China's putting in all these retaliatory tariffs, and people don't realize we sell stuff to China. And what we sell a lot of is agricultural products. Back when I was Secretary of State, or I guess actually just a little before I was Secretary of State, I was still in the legislature. I did a trade mission for the state of Missouri to China. And we sold a bunch of stuff to China. We took a bunch of agricultural, like representatives of different ag industries from Missouri. We sold rice to China, like a lot of it. We signed billions of dollars in deals at the time, because people don't realize that the way China's population works and the way its economy is set up, the average size of a farm in China is a quarter acre, which means they can't mass produce things. So Missouri sells rice to China, and we sell all sorts of agricultural goods, for instance, to them. And this is going to really hurt those farmers in a big, big way.
Yeah, and we'll do a longer segment on the economic impact here. There's just so much going on here that is truly, truly horrible and frightening. And the long-term damage here is inevitable. It's not just short term, and just even the fact that the U.S. is the place where people store their value. They buy treasuries, they buy bonds, and I don't think people truly understand what that means for their own purchasing power, their quality of life, the standard of living in the U.S. And this is all, I wouldn't even say under threat, but guaranteed to take a huge hit under even the best version of the events moving forward here. And Trump doesn't care, like you said. The most important thing that has been said on this podcast is what you said around Trump not caring about politics anymore. And this is what it means to not care anymore. And I think with that, speaking of politics, you want to introduce our guest?
Well, I think we get one more ad break, and then we're going to do it. So when we come back, we're going to talk to a very exciting, new candidate who, for those of you, and I think it's most of you who watch or listen to this show, who are frustrated with the leadership in the Democratic Party nationally and want to see some people move aside and for some new blood to come in. I think you're going to want to hear from Jake. But first, we're going to sell some stuff. So we'll be back with Jake in just a moment.
You all know how important sleep is to me. That's why I'm obsessed with my Helix mattress. With everything going on in the world and everything going on in work and all the travel that I'm doing, it's just incredibly important to get a great night of sleep. And the Helix lineup offers 20 unique mattresses, including the award-winning Luxe Collection, which is what I have, the newly released Helix Elite Collection, a mattress designed for big and tall sleepers, and even a mattress just made for kids. So how will you know which Helix mattress works best for you? Take the Helix Sleep Quiz and find your perfect mattress in just under 2 minutes, and your personalized mattress will be stripped straight to your door, free of charge. I took that quiz and I had the Helix Luxe mattress, and you'll find the right mattress for you. It shouldn't be one size fits all. Helix knows there's no better way to test out a new mattress than by sleeping on it in your own home. That's why they offer a 100-night trial and a 10 to 15-year warranty to try out your new mattress. And Helix has also been awarded the #1 mattress picked by GQ and Wired magazine. It's even recommended by multiple leading chiropractors and doctors of sleep medicine as a go-to solution for improving your sleep. Helix is offering 20% off site-wide if you go to helixsleep.com/majority. That's helixsleep.com/majority. This is their best offer yet, and it won't last long. With Helix, better sleep starts now.
Typical children's vitamins are basically candy in disguise, filled with 2 teaspoons of sugar, unhealthy chemicals, and other gummy junk growing kids should never eat. That's why Hiya was created, the pediatrician-approved, super-powered, chewable vitamin. While most children's vitamins are filled with 5 grams of sugar and can contribute to a variety of health issues, Hiya is made with 0 sugar and 0 gummy junk, yet it tastes great and it's perfect for picky eaters, i.e. kids. Hiya fills in the most common gaps in modern children's diets to provide the full body nourishment our kids need with a yummy taste that they love. Formulated with the help of nutritional experts, Hiya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies, then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamin D, B12, C, zinc, folate, and many others to help support immunity, energy, brain function, mood, concentration, teeth, bones, and more. It's non-GMO, vegan, dairy-free, allergy-free, gelatin-free, nut-free, and everything else that you can imagine. Hiya is designed for kids of all ages and sent straight to your door so parents have one less thing to worry about. As you know, I'm a father and I'm always on the lookout for the best possible vitamins for my child to take. I'm so happy that I've come across Hiya Health. The ingredients are amazing and I don't have to worry about sugar or gummy junk because Hiya Health is made without that stuff and is still able to keep the great taste, which is super important because that's how you get kids to eat it. We've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/majority. This deal is not available on the regular website. Go to hiyahealth.com/majority and get your kids the full body nourishment that they need to grow into healthy adults.
All right. Like I said before the break, we've heard from a lot of you and you're interested in, seeing new blood in the Democratic Party. You're interested in learning from us, who are the people who are exciting, who are looking to bring about that change. So we're going to introduce you today to my friend Jake Rakove. Jake Rakove moved to LA after college in 2011, got his start working in politics in the 2013 mayor's race. He served on local boards and community organizations before moving to Washington to work for Congressman Brad Sherman. Now he's running against his former boss, Brad Sherman. He lives in Studio City with his husband Abe and his rescue dog Kip. How you doing, Jake?
Hey, good. How are you?
Welcome. All right, so you are running against your former boss, but let's not start there. I mean, you can start there if you want. Just simple question: why are you running for Congress?
I think I'm running mostly because we as Democrats need a new generation to step up. People who have been there for decades, like Congressman Sherman, are, I think, exactly what led us to this party that we have now. Trump elected twice, MAGA Republicans taking control of the government. These people have been in power for so long that it's just they've stopped realizing that they're out of touch with the voters in the district. We've lost so many people from this party, and if we want to get those people back into the party, we have to start moving forward and getting a new generation of leaders in.
If you're making this tangible, Jake, like, so you're not going to find a more receptive audience to this, but you make it tangible because people are like, okay, like we need new energy, we need new blood, all that. Honestly, that's enough for me. But for people who are like, well, what does that translate into in terms of like a difference of perspective on the issues that's going to matter?
You know, I think it's a lot of things. So I'm running on a 3-point pledge of term limits, 5 terms, 10 years in Congress, no corporate PAC money to my campaign, and holding a town hall in our district every month I'm in office. And I think what a lot of those things point to are actionable, accessible, and being accountable. And those kind of 3 things are really what voters are demanding of representatives, and how easy it is to be those things right now. And we see people like Congressman Sherman, who hasn't had a town hall in the district in 5 years, who takes corporate PAC money, who's been there for nearly 30 years. So many of those things add up to this party that is so out of touch with the voters and the base. And I think that's why you're seeing so much anger in these protests and rallies around the country, and really calls for new action and people just to do something while they're in office.
I want to underline that point. In the last 5 years, I don't know Brad Sherman. Perhaps I've met him before. If he walked in here, I would not know it was Brad Sherman. But it sounds like maybe that's also the case for people who live in Brad Sherman's district, because in the last 5 years, the dude has not had a town hall. And what I enjoyed about this is, Ravi, the day either after or the day that you announced, Jake, Brad Sherman announced that he would be holding a town hall in the district. So you're already making a difference. Congratulations.
Yeah, first one in 5 years, all of a sudden is coming back to go to California State Northridge, a campus in here in the district, wants to hold a town hall. So I'm excited to kind of see that at least change is coming, even if it is, forced. But if we have to pull this older generation tooth and nail into the 21st century, then that's what we're going to do.
And so you worked for him, but it doesn't sound like this is like a case of like a bitter former employee. Like from watching the campaign so far, that doesn't seem to be your message at all.
No, I mean, I worked for him in 2017. It was during Trump's first term. I was with him for a year. I was his deputy comms director in DC. He had a great staff. I loved my time on the Hill, learning kind of the ins and outs of Congress. But this is not a personal vendetta. This is not against him as a personal thing. This is about generational change. This is about bringing in new energy, new voices, people who are actually going to take action in Congress, who can be much more accessible and accountable to their voters, that we are just not seeing that, kind of older generation be allowed to do or even try to do. You're seeing Senator Booker's speech on the Senate floor resonate with so many people in the younger generation. You're seeing AOC and Bernie Sanders have these massive rallies. You're seeing congressmen and senators talking about going down to El Salvador to go find this man in this horrible situation. What you're seeing is people actually starting to take action because they're finally being accessible and accountable to their voters. But then you have Congressman Sherman, who is radio silent on social media, who never comes back to the district, who has just no concept of where the people who he actually represents are. And so you're seeing that, I think, in other challenges around the country, that we're just tired of Congress people who are just staying in DC. They never come home. They are DC people. And that's fine. He can live in DC all he wants. He chose to. He sold his house here in LA, but it is time that we have Congress people who actually are accessible and accountable to their voters.
So I'm sure you've seen this news that is it David Hogg or Hogg? How do you say his name, from the DNC? The vice chair, who is the Parkland survivor, young kid, now young adult, who
I think he's just like an adult now.
Yeah,
I think you
you
and
say
I
it,
think we've lived a lot of years.
yeah,
throughout the-
it's you always it's like a first impression thing. It's like Justin Bieber to me when I see him now. I'm
I
like,
know.
holy. The he has this effort now. He made an announcement that he through non-DNC, it seems, entities, he's going to be challenging incumbents within the party with a new generation of candidate, and he says he's gonna focus specifically on safe blue districts. And I'm curious, Jake, I imagine you're generally on board with this, but I just want to share one concern I have with this as somebody who has spent a lot of my time in blue cities and blue states like New York City, is that I worry that because he's focusing on incumbents and because of what I know about David, who I don't know personally, but he is a very, very left-leaning person who I would say he'd probably admit is not necessarily representative of the average swing voter, that we're going to pull a lot of our members super to the left at a time when there's at least a credible argument to be made that we should be a little bit more nuanced, and it doesn't necessarily need to be quote unquote centrist, but we probably need to re-examine some of the orthodoxy of the extreme of our party. So I guess long way of saying, are you worried at all about what can come of these efforts to primary Democrats?
I think every district's going to be kind of its own little microcosm that we're going to see play out here. I think, if we as Democrats absolutely have to be able to have these conversations within our party about what happened in November. Why did we get Trump twice and MAGA Republicans taking over twice? And if we can't have those conversations in our safe districts, in our blue seats that we are, is our base, like I'm doing with Congressman Sherman, this is a D plus, I think 20 something district. If we cannot have those conversations where we are safest, we will not be able to go out to a swing district and fight for new voters and independent voters. I do think that, that strong pull to the left, it might be an overcorrection for some districts. I don't think I'm that far to the left as David Hogg is. I appreciate what he's doing. I think he's doing a great thing for engaging younger voters and just showing that Democrats can have this conversation. But it'll be interesting to see kind of where he lands as far as finding places that's actually going to resonate, which I'm sure there are. But I think we as Democrats do have to have these conversations. And for so long, the local party structure, the national party structure just didn't really allow ourselves to have it. And they protected the incumbency so much so that any kind of idea that runs counter to the incumbency protection gets you almost immediately blackballed by consultants and donors and all those kinds of things is something we actually do need to change. So I applaud him for that.
I think what's interesting is that I don't see this moment in terms of why the reason I'm excited about a candidacy like yours has nothing to do with I have no idea what Brad Sherman's positions on anything are, and like I said, wouldn't know him if he walked in here. But I think what came out of the 2024 election for us is a realization that one of the ways that you end up out of touch as a party is if you don't ever refresh the leadership of your party. And that particularly means the leadership of your party that the American people see every day, because whether we like it or not, the people who show up representing our party at the elected level on the national stage, those are the folks who end up representing our party to the American public. And we now have a Democratic Party that, doesn't have very good numbers. And so I think about this as it's not a question of when we look at safe Democratic seats, whether they are ideologically, pure enough. To me, it's not that. It's just are we taking advantage of these safe Democratic seats in terms of are we making sure that we're getting stars out of them? Are we making sure that we're getting leaders out of them? Because ultimately, that's usually where your leaders in the party at the national stage are going to come from. Because the folks who, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, the folks who are in these really tough districts, when it comes to the 2-3 months before the election, oftentimes they're going to have to move to the middle. They're going to have to they can't be bold, right? So let's have bold messengers. I mean, you are a communications person, who know how to communicate. And I feel like the divide in the party is between, those who are older and are institutionalists and who are look, this is the way it works. We look out for the incumbents. They've been there a long time, and then there are the people who see what is going on right now and are innovators. And sadly, we are being governed right now by people who are innovators for bad. And so every opportunity we have to have an innovator for good is a great opportunity. I don't have a question. I just am giving a speech.
No,
about why.
it's a valid point. You know, I think you are seeing people like, if you ask Democrats right now, who's the leader of the party, outside of Ken Martin, obviously, is like chair of the party, you would get probably 15 different answers, depending on probably how they view things. AOC in the rally, people who judges out there doing fantastic communication to audiences we don't usually reach out to. You know, some people might even say Ezra Klein, who's pushing the abundance kind of the argument on the left from the journalist perspective. But it is something that we as Democrats do need to figure out is, yes, who are going to be these next voices to actually bring change to the party? You know, if I'm able to be part of that conversation, I love that, and I'll take it on. I think this is a seat where it's a very diverse seat from the district perspective, and so you can talk to a lot of Democrats who come at the party from different angles, and that's going to really help, I think, push this party forward by bringing in more of those people and attracting more of those voters who may have left because they saw it going too far left or too old and institutionalized, like you were talking about.
When you get to Congress, what issues do you want to work on?
So I'm a science nerd at heart, science and technology. I wrote my thesis on net neutrality. So telecommunications is big to me. But this district is going to be huge for transportation infrastructure. The 28 Olympics are coming to LA, and traffic is, if it's a day that ends in Y, there's traffic. So we definitely need to figure out how to do better transportation, better housing policy around transportation corridors that this city, I think, has just kind of let squander to the wayside because of it's never really been a focus. So that's obviously something we're going to focus on. The Palisades fire was in this district, so definitely looking at how do we rebuild better? How do we respond better? How do we protect first responders who are in the fire for their health? And we're going to need a 9/11 style first responders health bill. That's not even been written yet, and we know that's going to come down the pike. Why are we not proactively doing that? So things like that, obviously, that are very central to the district, but in broader things, my generation came out of college after the 2008 financial crisis. I graduated in 2011. The economic opportunity that is in my generation and follows is categorically different to my parents' generation and the older generation. So how you think about policy, how you think about long-term effects of things is going to be so fundamentally different. And we need to bring that change. We need to start thinking of economic policies that are actually going to affect 40 years down the road. Because the economic opportunity my generation had was just non-existent compared to previous generations.
And then you have these 3 pledges, which you kind of alluded to, right? Which I think is unique, right? Let's see, you have no corporate PAC donations, you have town hall every month in the district, and you believe in term limits, but also a self-imposed term limit, which I think is really interesting because you graduated college in 2011 and you're running for Congress. And most people, when they hear that, are going to be like, oh, great. Some guy who's just wanted to be in Congress his entire life, and he's running against this guy, Brad Sherman, who's been there a long time, but he probably wants to be there a long time. But you're running saying, like, I'm going to do it for a decade and then get out of the way. So I'm interested in you talking about that, but also about the no corporate PAC pledge.
Yeah. So, no corporate PAC money, I'll take that one first. I think it is so apparent to voters, especially in the Democratic Party, that the influx of corporate money, Citizens United, the Supreme Court case, has just gotten so far out of hand that it's not even like it's a parody of how bad we thought it would get to. So I'm trying to say, you know what, there is enough energy in the Democratic base and independent base to fundraise, get new energy in Congress, and we're seeing that based on the responses we've gotten, that we actually can go back to an actually people-funded campaign model. And I think there's some other people who've led that way as well. But I think it is time that we do that. And Congressman Sherman, who's been in Congress for coming up on 30 years, 80 or so % of his donations come from massive corporate checks. Like, he just knows automatically he's going to get this roster of people to send in money. So he doesn't even think about going to the voters and hearing what they're saying and fighting for those dollars. So this is a people-powered campaign from the district, but the response we're getting from across the country of thank you, we need this energy, we need these fighters. Like my campaign and others, has been really great of a response. For the term limits, yes, I am calling for 5 terms and 10 years in Congress. To like instill that, but also I will self-fulfill that myself. I will only take 10 years. I think Congress was never meant to be a career, and the party and institutionalism has allowed it to become that. Congressman Sherman ran for Congress when I was 8 years old. He got elected. And I kind of would love to go back to ask him in 96, be like, do you think you're going to be doing this in 30 years? Because if so, what happened? And I doubt he would have, because the guy who had left when he took the seat was only there for 20 years and he retired. So like going even back to these people who've been here for decades, is this what your plan all along was, to just sit here and make millions and just have a cushy seat and try and climb the DC ladder. But if we don't start taking it upon ourselves to actually force the change along and get other people maybe to sign on to my pledge to say, you know what, I will only do 10 years too, or I'm in office now, I'll only serve X number more years. It just allows the bench of Democrats and leaders to actually be fulfilled and climb that ladder. You know, people are sitting around and waiting on councils and neighborhood boards and state senate seats, and they get squandered because they aren't allowed to climb the ladder if people just sit there and there isn't that turnover of leadership. And I think, you know, that has led to a stalling of the party and progress and getting new ideas in, getting new voters in. It's all, I think, part of symptomatics of the people who are on top just aren't leaving. And so that just causes such a dead end. If you're looking at a career path, what's the point of sticking around if you're never going to go anywhere with it?
And then finally, you know, last question, I guess, is that you've been running what for a few weeks now, I guess, or like 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
What's been the response?
The response has been fantastic. I have been amazed at the people that have reached out, both locally in the community and around the country, to say, thank you for running. You've inspired me to run. I'm going to challenge my congressperson, or I'm now thinking of challenging my city councilman. That's what it's going to take to really bring this change across the board. And it isn't just Congress people who've been, you know, who've been there for 30 years who need to go. It is local party chairs. It is local party systems and local electeds. So to see this response from community members here to say, thank you, we've needed a voice, we've needed a change in this area, has been so rewarding and humbling to the amount of people who proactively reached out to say thank you and engaged and now inspired to go do other things. I think that's what it's going to take, is a whole mass of people being more inspired to even just attend city council meetings, to go to a neighborhood council meeting, to talk to a board, to figure out what they're doing. I think you are seeing that movement right now in just the Democratic Party and independents of showing up to go, oh, wait, I haven't paid attention and all this stuff happened. I need to pay attention now and actually take action.
Jake, I'm excited that you're running. We're excited that you're running. Best of luck. Tell people where they can find you, where they can find the campaign, and how they can help, particularly how they can give you some money.
Absolutely. No, thank you for having me. JakeForCongress.com is our website. At Jake Rakove on Instagram and most social channels, but they're all there. JakeForCongress.com/donate is kind of our donate page. You can go and donate. We are, it's again, like I said, no government PAC money. So we are accepting donations. Our average donation recently was like $29. Like, we are doing this with the absolute support of as many people as we can find to bring that generational change I think that so many people are calling for.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, man. Good luck.
Thanks for having me.
All right,
man.
Ravi, you've been gone. Tell the people what you've been up to. Give them an update.
Yeah, I've been out for a couple of weeks. I've been all over the country. I mean, you and I did that event in St. Louis, which was awesome. I think they may have a couple for those of you in St. Louis. You could stop by Left Bank Books. I've signed a few books over there. Yeah, I did the book event. I was back in New York for a while. I'm now in New Orleans, and I've been kind of running around this area, reporting on this New Orleans story. Yesterday, I was at this place called Opportunities Academy, which is a program for students 18 to 22 who have severe special needs, at least a severe cognitive disability, in some cases other disabilities as well. And they learn how to, they basically apprentice half the day and then take classes half the day. And they run like a car wash. They have a coffee shop on site. They have a little Target style store and an Amazon warehouse. And it's a truly inspiring program. And it was just a mark of just like, how, despite how depressing the world can be, there are people out there waking up every single day and doing amazing work. So I'm really pumped about that. And let me shout out the Midas Mighty, by the way. Just during this episode, we've gone from number 3 to number 2 in the Webby Award voting. So Jeremy's going to drop it again in the link. And for those of you who are following later on in the show description on YouTube and the podcast, vote for Killing Justice for the Webby. It'll only take you 30 seconds. If we can go from 3 to 2 in 30 minutes, we can get there by tomorrow. End of day is the deadline. Thursday, end of day, midnight is the deadline. So get us over the top there. Thank you all. How's everything going in your world, man? You recovered. I saw you sprinting on Instagram earlier today.
Yeah, I'm getting there, man. So I'm now, I think, 35 days post surgery, and so I got back in the weight room starting like a week ago. Boy, it is hard to go into the weight room and be like, okay, I'm going to follow doctor's orders, because it's supposed to be week 1. You do 25% of what you would usually do, and then you add 25%. each week, so that by the fourth week, like you're back. And so it's hard to like do a weights workout and know that you won't feel like you did a weights workout. But so this week has been where it's been the first week where lifting weights, I can actually, it feels like it's starting to feel like I'm lifting weights, but I've been like swinging a bat. And today was today was like the big test. Cause I was like, okay, can I run? And I'm only running at about 60% effort right now, just to try and be patient with it. But I was able to run today, which was super great. And the Kansas City Hustlers baseball season begins in 12 days. And I am starting to feel like somehow, because the way this worked is like I identified that I had a hernia the week before I went to go play this baseball tournament in Vegas. And I was like, okay, I'll have the surgical consult when I get back. I went, I played the tournament, and then I developed the symptoms. And I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's just get the surgery. And I was like, maybe there's a way where I don't actually miss any games. So it may have, knock on wood, it may have actually worked out to where I might not miss any time, which is interesting. So hopefully that's the case.
It's amazing. Well, you definitely sound back to normal. So it was that period of time when you were short of breath.
Dude, it's that. And also just, you know how important all this is, like my workout regime is to my mental health regimen. And so not being able to exert myself at all for, really 6 weeks, because it was 2 weeks. I hurt myself and then I had 2 weeks off before the surgery. I'm starting to feel like a person again. And that is really nice. So, okay, go, vote, use the link in the show notes, vote for Killing Justice, give them a chance to win this Webby Award. Also, Ravi and I and our friend Adisu Demisi are doing this show on the Valor Media Network called The Game Within, which it's getting more and more of a following. And honestly, I think we're starting to hit our stride.
As I've been away, that's when you hit your stride.
You're coming back, and it's
coming back in a couple of weeks. Yeah,
it's also like, for those who haven't gotten a chance to listen to it yet, if you like this show, it is the politics. Ravi and I kind of refer to it as the politics of everything else, because it's sports, it's a little bit of pop culture, but it's the way those things influence politics and the way politics influences those things. So it may not, it's not always stuff that you would think of. And so it's a different angle, and people seem to really like it so far, and we're really enjoying doing it. So we're working out like the everyday streaming time as to exactly what it's going to be, but it's on Tuesdays in the afternoon. You can go to Valor Media Network, wherever you get your podcasts, or it's a YouTube show like this one, so you can go find it on YouTube. Subscribe to Valor Media Network as well as to Midas Touch, and you'll always see it. But thanks for the support, everybody. You can find me at Jason Kander on everything. You can find Ravi at Ravi M. Gupta. Thank you to Jake Rakov. Please go support Jake. Please leave a 5-star review. Thank you to the Midas Mighty. Remember, we all have a platform. Make sure to use yours today.